So, have you ever wondered how AI models get so incredibly smart? Well, it's not magic, not at all. The real secret, the special sauce really, is all the hard work that happens long before any of the learning actually starts. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden art of data preparation. All right, get this. What do you think a world-class chef and a top-tier data scientist have in common? I know, it sounds like the beginning of a weird joke, right? They seem like they're from completely different worlds, but believe it or not, they both depend on the exact same principle for success. Yup, it all comes down to preparation. I mean, a chef would never just toss a bunch of random ingredients into a pan and hope for the best. And in the same way, a data scientist can't just feed a jumbled, messy pile of data to an algorithm. The quality of the end result, whether it's an amazing meal or a brilliant AI, is totally depending on the prep work. Now, in our world, the AI world, we call this dataset preparation. It's the absolutely essential job of taking that raw, chaotic mess of information and turning it into something clean, organized, and actually usable. And the goal is super simple. The better your data, the more accurate your model is going to be. Simple as that. So here's our game plan for today, our little recipe card. We're going to walk through 4 key steps. First, splitting the ingredients, then spotting the flaws. After that, the big cleanup. And finally, we'll talk about perfecting the portions. Okay, first things first. Before we even think about the cooking, we have to divide up our ingredients into 2 very distinct piles. And let me be clear, this is not an optional step. This is rule number 1 for pretty much any machine learning project. These 2 piles are our training and testing data sets. Think of the training data as the textbook. It's what the model studies for hours and hours to learn all the patterns. The testing data? That's the final exam. It's kept under lock and key, completely separate. The model never, ever gets a peek at it while it's in study mode. So how do we split it? A super common way is the 80-20 rule. That means the vast majority of your data, a whole 80%, is used for the training. You want to give the model plenty to learn from. That last 20% is saved for that all-important final test. It's the ultimate report card that tells you if your AI actually learned what you wanted it to. All right, so our data's split. Now what? Well, now it's time for some serious quality control. We've got to inspect every piece of our data for problems because, let's be real, just one bad ingredient can completely ruin the final dish. The first problem, and you see this one all the time, is missing values. This is when a piece of data is just gone. It's a blank space, like a person's salary is just a question mark. It's exactly like you're about to bake a cake and you open the fridge to find, uh-oh, no eggs. So where do these gaps even come from? Well, it could be anything really. A simple typo during data entry, a sensor that just glitched out for a second, or, someone just skipping a question on a survey. They can hide as blank spaces or even weird symbols, and our job is to hunt them down. Okay, on to our second big headache, what we call noisy data. Now, this data isn't missing, it's there, but it's just wrong. Like, way wrong. An age of 250? Yeah, that's obviously a mistake. This is like finding a rotten vegetable in your ingredient pile. Sure, it's there, but there is no way you're using it. And just like with missing values, the usual suspects are to blame. It could be faulty equipment, someone hitting the wrong key, or just some random error that happened when the data was being moved from one place to another. Okay, so we've identified the problems. Now for the fun part, actually fixing them. Welcome to the big cleanup. This is where we roll up our sleeves and do the hands-on work to make our data absolutely pristine. Now, cleaning data isn't just about deleting things randomly. Oh no, there's a system. First, you get rid of any exact duplicates. Then you deal with all those missing values we found. After that, you toss out the noisy data, fix anything that's inconsistent, and finally, you get everything into one standard format. So let's talk about those missing values for a second. There's no single magic bullet here. If you only have a tiny number of them, sure, you could just delete those entries. But most of the time, you'll use a technique called imputation, which is just a fancy word for making a really smart guess. For numbers, you might plug in the average. For categories, maybe you use the most common one. It's all about patching the holes in your data as thoughtfully as possible. And that brings us to our final prep step, perfecting the portions. Now, this might sound a little strange, but stick with me. Sometimes the secret to the best outcome isn't using every single ingredient you have. Sometimes less is actually way, way more. This whole idea is called data reduction. It's the art of shrinking your data set down without losing the really important stuff. So why do it? Well, it makes everything run faster and it helps you build simpler models. You're not throwing away good data, you're just concentrating the flavor, boiling it all down to what's most powerful. I mean, just imagine the impact here. You might start out with a data set that has 100 different columns of information. We call those features. Through data reduction, you might find out that, hey, only 20 of those are actually useful for making good predictions. This lets you focus the AI's attention on what really matters. Now, to do this, data scientists have a whole toolkit of different techniques. There's feature selection, which is literally just picking the most important columns, but you also have more advanced stuff like dimensionality reduction. That's kind of like combining several ingredients to create one brand new, super potent flavor. Each one is just a different way to distill the data down to its pure essence. So, if you only remember one thing from all of this, let it be this. You can have the most advanced algorithm, the most powerful computer on the planet, but if your data is junk, none of it matters. The quality of your AI model will never, ever be better than the quality of the data you feed it. It's the classic saying, garbage in, garbage out. Okay, so let's quickly recap our recipe for success. Number 1, data prep is everything. It's the critical first step. 2, always, always, always split your data into training and testing sets. 3, have a system for finding and fixing errors. And 4, remember that sometimes making your dataset smaller by focusing on what's important can actually make your model stronger. So there you have it. Your data is clean, it's structured, and it's ready for your model. But I want to leave you with one final question to chew on. Your perfectly prepared data, is it actually telling the whole story? That's a deep one, and definitely a topic for another day. Thanks for joining me.